Madam Speaker, I am informed by the State Investment Corporation that Mrs. BV, acting as Managing Director of the corporation, draws a monthly basic salary of 123,895 rupees as Group Corporate Secretarial Manager and an acting allowance of 55,000 rupees. She is entitled to benefits in accordance with the terms and conditions of employment at the corporation, namely traveling 11,133 rupees, driver allowance 8,659 rupees, car allowance in lieu of company car 40,792 rupees. I am also informed that Mrs. BV has attended only one overseas mission in June 2015 on behalf of Mauritius Duty Free Paradise Company Limited, namely the Tax-Free World Association World Exhibition in Cape Town. She was provided with an economy class ticket and a per diem of $2,760 US dollars by MDFP. Madam Speaker, with regard to Part B of the question, I am informed that Mrs. BV sits on the boards of 35 investee companies. 35 investee companies. In accordance with the corporation's policy, all directors' fees from investee companies are paid directly to the corporation. SIC officers are in turn paid a fixed monthly directorship allowance by the corporation. Mrs. BV is accordingly paid a fixed monthly directorship allowance of 50,000 rupees, thus bringing her total current monthly remuneration to 289,479 rupees compared to 263,188 rupees in November 2014.
Yes, Honourable Member.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. I asked a question on the same person on the 40th 14 juin 2016. Can the Minister of Finance, acting the Prime Minister, inform the House what action has been initiated to have this post advertised and filled?
Well, I stated at that time that there was a study that was commissioned by Deloitte firm, and I understand that there is a draft pre-final report that has been submitted, and I understand that the final report will be handed over quite soon. So we are waiting for this report because it concerns the restructuring of the SIC.
Can the Prime Minister inform House whether his ministry has received representation from the employees, not only of the SIC, but also bodies where this person, Mr. Veerasamy, is a representative, concerning the arrogant attitude and also the repressive attitude towards workers, whether, especially the casino workers, whether he has received such representation, whether he has been able to talk to the person concerned.
Well, I can't recall having received any representations in the form of, I suppose, in the form of letters. I can't recall, but I'll check if there is.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as I understand it, Mrs. BV was appointed acting managing director of SIC following the departure of the former MD. Now, can the Honourable Prime Minister inform the House of the salary and fringe benefits of the former MD for comparison purposes?
Well, the former MD at the time from 2006 to 2014, the total was 416,075 rupees. But on top of that, with unlimited petrol allowance, company car, driver, and security officer that was also attached to him, And also I must say that he went also against the, contrary to the regulations of the SIC, whereby director fees have been paid also to him in certain cases. Of course, we have to compute that amount, but from what I can recall, I don't have the exact information, from what I can recall, the SIC had requested the former CEO to refund that amount.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We heard the Prime Minister say that Mrs. BV sits on some 30 or 35 investee companies. My question is this practice a new practice of sitting on investee companies? And if not, whether the predecessors of Mrs. BV were also sitting on investee companies, and if yes, how many investee companies? Thank you.
Yes, they have been sitting on the number of investee companies also. In fact, if I have the information. Mr. IMH has been sitting on 49 boards, and formerly also there has been a CEO, SG, who has been sitting on 53 boards.
Can we, Prime Minister, has his attention been drawn? Has the attention of the Prime Minister been drawn, and also Minister of Finance, that this person authorized the organization of jeu d'écarté, a big tournament, sort of tournament, at the casino of Grand Bay, whereby 1 million, more than 1 million Indian rupees was seized and still there without being able to be exchanged in terms of other currencies, and this money is lying there, 1 million Indian rupees.
Madam Speaker, I mean, the honourable member should come with a specific question, because this relates to the salary and fringe benefits of the Mrs. BV.
Next question, Honourable Shakil Mohammed.
B290, Madam.
Madam Speaker, as the request made by the honourable member involves all ministries, departments and parastatal bodies, the information is being compiled and will be tabled as soon as I have all of them.
I thank the Honourable Prime Minister for compiling. Normally compiling is done for a lot of volume, but thank you very much. With regards to this particular issue, there is one company which I'd like to ask the Honourable Prime Minister a question about, and it falls within the ambit of the question itself, which is the SIT Property Development Limited, and the appointment of notaries for SIT PDL, which is a subsidiary of the Sugar Investment Trust, for Auréa Morcellement project at Côte d'Or Highlands. Is the Honourable Prime Minister aware that an evaluation committee was set up under the chairmanship of the chairman of the board itself, whereby the evaluation exercise was to be carried out for the choosing of notaries? 3 notaries were chosen, but in spite of the finalization of the choice of the 3 notaries, there was an emergency board that was once again called by the chairman. I'm asking a question. Is he aware? Let me put the question. And there was then a new notary who was appointed, Wenda Sominaden, in going against the choice of the evaluation committee. Is he aware of that?
Speaker, the honourable member, let me say first of all, the question that I had received, I don't know where it went wrong. The question that I received was different from that one. But anyway, when I received the modified question, of course I had requested, can you imagine there are so many ministries with all the departments, there are maybe 100 parastatal bodies. I have requested them to furnish all this information with regard to notaries. And obviously, till today, in a short span of time, I am not able to get those information. But I will do so once I have them, and I will table them. Now, I will look into the specific question that is being asked by the honorable member.
Yes. Yes, Honorable Shakil Mohammed. Priorities.
With regards to Auréa, Côte d'Or, Bois de Nat, and Bois de Chandelle, the three most elements of SIT property development, again, because I'm referring to what the Honorable Prime Minister said, that normally it's the practice that the buyer decides who the notary is. And I thank him for having said that earlier this morning. Is he aware, and I will table this document, that in the case of those three morcellement, there is a letter from SIT Property Development Limited this year itself that imposes upon the buyer the choice of notary already designated by SIT Property Development Limited, and funnily enough, the notary that they impose upon the buyer, here the buyer has no choice, it's Mrs. Wenda Sominaden. Is he aware of that? And I table this letter? And could you explain why is it being imposed?
Well, I have replied that I don't have the information. I will look into that once they will send me this information.
Honorable Usman Mohammed, last question.
Madam Speaker, I'm picking up from where Ms. Honorable Shakil Mohammed left with regards to notary Wenda Sominaden, and this time again with regards to a parastatal, and which was the subject of a press article of Sunday Times of 16th April 2007, whereby the current managing director of the NHDC admitted that Ms. Notary Wenda Sominaden has beneficiated more contracts than others. Now, my question is as follows. Has there been a change in setup at the NHDC? I was formerly managing director, and we had called for expression of interest.
I don't provide information. Answer question.
Has there been a change in procedure and setup at the level of the NHDC to favor some particular notaries?
I will look into that, Madam Speaker.
Next question, Honorable Shakil Mohammed.
Thank you, Madam. Coming back to, we'll leave the issue of the NHDC to later on, but since we'll wait for the compiling of the voluminous documents, but what I'd like to ask is the following. With regards to Auréa Morcellement Project Côte d'Or Highlands again.
Order.
Please.
Madam Speaker.
I'll take your point of order at the end of the session, unless it is urgent and it is related to what
It relates to that question. Madam Speaker, so far as I understand, and I am under your correction, supplementaries should relate to the main answer. And in the light of the answer given by the Honourable Prime Minister, we are now asking questions, and I think that it is not in order. And since the Honourable Prime Minister stated that informations are being compiled, there should not be any other. And I did not want to give the impression that I am just preventing supplementaries, but it should relate to the main question, and the Honourable Prime Minister stated that these are being compiled.
Please sit down. Honourable Hussain, it seems that you are giving me a lesson, and I won't accept that. I am sorry, I won't accept that. I know what I have to do, and I don't want you to draw my attention. I've several times said that supplementary questions, the content of which should come from the main question. I know that, and I have the right to choose which question to accept and which one not to accept. Next question, Honourable Shakil Mohammed.